conflicts with Mother's Day and Easter. So the entry period has opened up already. Please, please, please do not wait until the last day or the last half day or the last hour, because if we have technical complications, we're not going to be able to answer your questions or have IT assist you. And once you have entered, save your email confirmation. So the process is you go in, you would set up a free account at sdfair.com, and then you tell us what images you want to enter. Then after you pay, then you can upload the pictures and give us the information. And then after that, you'll get your receipt. So be sure that you read all of the instructions. It looks like a lot, but you'll want to know everything. Read the description of the categories and what classes, how the classes are defined. Then go back to your photographs and decide what to enter and in which categories. And just to let you know, not every single photograph that you love may necessarily have a category or class that it would fit squarely in. Cell phone category only requires that your pictures be taken by a cell phone. But in the large print category, that's open also. We don't have it broken down as to what the photographs may contain, other than that it must be printed large. The entry deadline, reiteration that please don't submit your name, identifying information, your Instagram handle or watermarks on the images or in the descriptions, the size of the pictures for when you do this tier 1 entry. And then do save your email confirmation so that if you have any questions, we can help you with that. All right. So what happens is after you've entered your photos before April 8th, the judges will look at your digital images on computers, and they will decide which pictures they would like to have delivered in print, ready to hang. So pictures that are selected by the judges, the maker will get emails with delivery instructions. You would then prepare your images for delivery. You would mount and print them for tier 2 judging, and then you deliver them. You can ship them or you can bring them in person. And then once the fair is done, then you pick up your entries on the return day. Or you can make arrangements with prepaid shipping for us to send the images back to you. So not every image that you love might actually pull at the heartstrings or send a message or tell a story to the viewing public or to judges. So let's say I take a picture of my grandson and I just love that picture. But that picture means something to me because it tells a personal story. I have a connection to the child. If I were to show that picture to somebody walking by or to one of the other judges, they may not have that same reaction, that same emotion. If I go on vacation and I take a picture, I'm going to remember the feeling I had when I go on vacation, when I took that photograph. But if I show that picture to you, it probably will not conjure up the same feeling. So some of the things that judges are looking for are whether a photograph gives them an immediate feeling, an emotion, that's impact. How many times have you looked at a picture and thought, wow, that's an amazing picture. How did they get that? I love that story. That's what impact is. Is it clear to the judges and people walking by what you want them to look at? Is there a clear focal point? Does the way that you compose the picture make sense so that it looks good? Photography it would not be possible without light. So is your photograph or your subject properly lit? Were you able? Yes.
T. Morris had made a statement here that she thinks the resolution was 150 ppi.
You're talking about
for print?
No, I thought for tier 1.
The resolution is the material. You just need to make sure that it is at 1800 or 12 for a horizontal and 1200 for a vertical.
Okay, hold on a second. They're not seeing my stream here.
Let's see if I can explain that better. Hold on a second. Let me.
The dots per inch, as long as the outside dimensions are 1800 by 1200, the dots per inch become irrelevant.
Thank you.
Whether it's a printed display, whether it's a digital display or printed output, because we're only looking at the monitors.
And another good way of thinking of it is a 4x6 at 300 ppi is pretty much the same as I'm guessing a 12 by 18 at 72 ppi. So they're both going to be, let's see, 70 times 12 is horizontal of 1800 ppi regardless. So right. I'm sorry, 1800 pixels. Pardon me. Does that make sense? It's confusing. It is.
My understanding is if you have it, say about 5 or 6 mega.
That's a big file.
That's a big file.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be smaller than that.
All right. So basically, what maybe a 1920 by 1080, maybe a good one to go with.
That should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. So, yes.
When you have a convenient moment, once a photograph makes it into tier 2 judging, it's still not guaranteed for entry into the fair.
That's correct. So we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Let me see. So things that judges are looking for, they're looking for proper exposure and tone. If you have skin, does the skin look proper? Does it look like that's what a human should look like? They come out orange. Are they supposed to be orange? Or maybe you can do something to fix that. And sometimes pictures are intentionally not sharp or out of focus, but if it's supposed to be sharp, is it sharp where it needs to be as in focus where it needs to be? So when people ask, well, why did my picture not get selected to move into tier 2 or to be? So these are common issues that judges come across where they look at a picture, they're not sure what's going on. It's not clear what they're supposed to look at. There's no emotion. If you have something that's white or bright, are you still able to see detail in that? If not, then the highlights are clipped. Are you able to see details where it's dark? Or is it so black that there's no detail in there? So over-processing and excessive saturation, just a comment. If you're in Lightroom or Photoshop, remember the levers go both ways. Just because you can push something to 100% saturation or clarity doesn't mean that you should. So pull back on your processing and make sure that it's not overly done. If you have a sky, does that color of the sky actually exist in nature? So things like that. Horizontal lines, if you have a landscape picture, you should probably have your horizon line straight. And even being off by a couple of degrees can make you feel a little bit uneasy. That said, sometimes people do take pictures where they have the horizontal lines intentionally not level, and that's called a Dutch angle. But unless you're doing something like that intentionally, do double check and make sure that you level off all of your horizon lines. And this goes for most times when you do buildings also, that for architecture or cityscape, that a lot of times architectural photographers will want to have the horizon lines and the vertical lines straight. So if you have dust or spots on your lenses or your sensors, go ahead and have it cleaned. But if you, for some reason, are unable to do that before you go out and shoot, do zoom in all the way and check for those sensor spots so that you can clone them out before you print. There's nothing worse than spending a lot of money on printing something and then to realize that you've got spots all over the sky, or on something that you need to have clear. And you don't want to be in a situation where you didn't catch some sensor spots and then you print and then you find out you didn't have enough time to reprint. So another common thing that a lot of judges mention is that, wow, I see a nice picture here, but I actually see 3 nice pictures if you were to crop them differently. So do feel free to crop into pictures so that you can clearly tell the viewer and the judges what it is that you want them to look at. Because what more information is not always better. If you have something that's along the edge of a picture that's leading your eye out, can you crop in and take that out? Or can you clone that out to take that out so that it makes your photograph stronger? And sometimes a picture will look fine on a computer screen, but when you go and you print it, it doesn't support printing a large print. So that can happen with some cell phone pictures, but also sometimes when you take a photograph and you want to make it larger, make sure your file supports making a larger photo. Just because we can print in or have a photograph with dimensions of 16 by 20 on the outside does not mean that you need to actually print it to 16 by 20. And a few years ago, we had a very, very lovely picture, and it was of a bonsai tree. And the photographer decided to print it as, I think, something like an 8 by 10 or like a 5 by 7 instead of 16 by 20. And he won first place in trees and plants. And when we asked him why he decided to make a smaller print, he said, well, I tried to make it bigger, but it wasn't sharp enough. So he made it into a smaller print, and the judges agreed that it worked. And it ended up winning first place in that category. And the exhibit is not just of pictures itself, but if you think of it as an exhibit and a gallery and an art museum, please make sure that your printing and mounting look professional. You spend so much time and energy and money on the craft of doing photography. Spend a little bit more time and attention to make sure that your presentation looks great. Because sometimes we do have images where it's not properly mounted, or the mat is coming off, or the image is dented, and the judges will not accept that.
Yeah,
So
I can
this
add
is
something to that list for a moment, Lois.
Mhm.
I've been on many judging teams where people will talk about, and they'll use the term border control or border patrol, where you're looking very carefully at the borders of your image for something at the border that draws attention away from your subject out to the edges. And that's a very common topic for judges to flag as an issue that should have been caught when you're making the adjustments on your image, or you're making the corrections on your image. So the border patrol, being careful of what's going on at the edges, can be an important topic.
And actually, I'd like to add something too that we were talking about. It goes back to the question that Stephen Burns or somebody asked. This is from my FAQ page for the fair. Please note that the resolution of all uploaded image is material. Of your uploaded image is immaterial for Tier 1. Is the way it will be viewed is dependent on the monitors. All monitors, not just the judges. A file saved at 4x6 or 300 ppi is same as one saved at 16 by 25 at 72 ppi. They're both 1200 by 1800 pixels and will both show up on the monitor at the same size. So you're asking about the resolution. The important element is not the resolution, it's that pixel length or height. And the other thing too, that I think Lois talked about this, but if you make it to Tier 2, do not make the print from the Tier 1 uploaded file. Go back to your original file and make it at least 200 to 300 ppi. Anything more than 300 ppi is wasted pixels. But 200 to 300 is a good printing range for your image. So an 11 by 14, let's say at 200 ppi would be or 300 ppi would be a perfect size for that. I hope that makes a little sense on that.
All right. So we'll move on to calibration of your computer monitor. So all of the computers that the judges use in Tier 1 are calibrated. So this is what you'll want to calibrate your computer monitor using. So you can use an i1 or something like that. So feel free to take a cell phone picture of this if you want to do a screen grab. So I'll just leave that up for another second or two. All right. So let's say you have an image and it's been, it's moving on from Tier 1 to Tier 2. So now you get to print. So it's extremely important that you make sure that you print on the right type of material, because your paper choice, or whether you decide to print on metal or acrylic, it will make your picture look differently. So I always suggest that before you make your final prints, make test prints of your images. Make 4x6s, make 8x10s. Compare what the pictures look like on the different types of paper, because your pictures will look different. And I've done this exercise many times, and you may find that you have a favorite paper or you have a certain look that you like of your pictures. If you don't like the way that the pictures look, go back to Lightroom or Photoshop and reprocess your pictures until you get the look you like. Go to other people, not your mom or your grandma, to find out whether they like a certain picture or paper. Go to people that will be honest with you. Photo clubs, other judges, other photographers. Get their feedback as to what their thoughts are regarding a certain picture or regarding a certain type of paper or printing material. And then go back and make new test prints again. So you will be surprised when you do this exercise as to how you print and what you print on can make a picture look differently. And just to kind of add here also, I know that sometimes people would like to print on canvas because they think it looks more like a painting, or they want to hang it in their house. For the most part, canvas does not give you the level of detail and sharpness when you print a photograph on canvas. And many times judges will decide to not give a ribbon or elevate a photograph that's been submitted for a ribbon or a higher ribbon because it's printed on canvas, because they don't have the level of detail. So just kind of an FYI. So what we do allow, you can have prints on paper, metal, acrylic, canvas. Any material is allowed, just so long as they don't weigh too much. And we can put Velcro on the back of it. If you do use a metal print, it must have rounded corners so that our staff do not get hurt. If you bring in something that has sharp corners, we will make you go outside and round it down with sandpaper. We no longer allow float mounts because the mount is so small and it backs away from the wall that we use to hang everything on. And we can't put the amount of Velcro on it to safely mount your prints on the wall if there's a float mount. So if you're not sure what a float mount is, it's like a little rectangle or square on the back of your image, and it sets your image away from the wall. So it's just kind of like, just a rectangle. And so it's just mounted on the back. So we don't allow that. The back of your image must be completely flat, except for canvas. For when you deliver at tier 2, the entire dimension of the finished entry must be exactly 16 by 20. We do have straight edges there, and we have templates, and we do measure it. Please, please, please do not argue with me when you come in that it's 15.5 by 21 and that it's close enough. It must be exactly 16 by 20. When you get your images printed, don't just leave it in the box. Measure it before you bring it in to make sure it's 16 by 20. If it's smaller than 16 by 20, it must be mounted on a 16 by 20 mount board, foam core, or other backing board to make it exactly 16 by 20. Large prints must be bigger than 20 by 30, up to 40 by 40. They do have a weight limitation. And again, panoramas can go here if they're at least 2:1 or 3:1. And the long dimension must be at least 36 inches up to 40. It could be a vertical or a horizontal panorama.
Lois, could you also mention stroke lines around the image?
Yes, I think we're going to have that.
Okay.
Here it is. So if you have a mat that you have in front or around it, your image, it could be an actual mat or it could be a virtual mat. If you have an actual mat, it must be black or pure white. So when I say white, I mean paper white. Ivory is not white. Snow White is actually blue. So the core of the black and white mat could be black or white. So that simulates a stroke line. If you do a digital mat, you can have a stroke line, and the stroke line must be pure black or pure white. Color mats or mount boards are not allowed, and you can only use one mat. So mount boards must be black or pure white. You can have a core or a stroke line that's pure black or pure white.
Can you mention the limitations on the size of the stroke line, please? It's like, I think, 1/8 of an inch, just so you know, or less.
Yeah. It's about 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want a 1/4 inch stroke around your image. It would look silly to begin with anyway, but still, yeah.
It would take away from the presentation of your print.
Yeah.
For sure. And then when you get an email alerting you that your image has passed tier 1 and that you can deliver it, you'll be getting a digital tag with your email, and that email tag will have a thumbnail of your picture, and you should place it on the back of the picture, that the direction that your picture will hang. And once again, no names, signatures, watermarks, Instagram handles, or anything are allowed on the front of the image or the mat. So what you need if you do a traditional window mat and mount board is you need a window mat that's 16 by 20 outer dimensions. You need a mounting board that's 16 by 20 also. You need some sort of a linen hanging tape or photo mounting tape, and then double-sided tape. So masking tape, transparent tape, don't work very well in that they're not permanent. And they actually, with the changing temperatures and humidity in the photo gallery, they actually won't last in the gallery. Spray glue also has a similar problem in that it's really, really difficult to get it to mount your prints uniformly. And many times you'll get bubbles underneath between the print and the mounting board. Now, photo corners actually are too thick. And what happens if you put photo corners on an image and then you put a mat in front, when you have changing temperatures and humidity, your print will actually expand and contract. And when that happens and it expands, it will pop that front mat off the front of your image and it'll end up on the floor. So you may want to take a picture of this, and it's also in the entry materials at the fair's website. This is how you will mount the picture. You actually put the linen tape on the back of the photo as depicted on the left in figure 1. And then you put your presentation, your picture, on your back mat board. And then you take the piece of tape at the top there, that's tape B, align it with the top of the picture, and you put it on top of the tape A that you put on earlier. And you have the picture in the location that you want it to be. So before you put the double stick tape along the edge, put your front mat board on top of it to make sure that it fits, that that's the picture that you want showing in the opening of the front mat board. Then you take the double stick tape and you put it around the edge of the picture. And just kind of a suggestion here, so sometimes people will want to print the picture as big as possible. Make sure you have adequate room around your picture so that you can put, I prefer to do not just one layer of double stick tape along the edge. I usually use at least 2. So put 2 layers of double stick tape on the outside of the picture so that front mat board has better adhesion to the back mat. And then put the front mat on top of it. And I suggest you kind of lightly tap the edge of the picture, the bottom edge, along a flat surface, like a table or something, and then kind of finger touch so that you have the front mat and the back mat in the right place. So I would recommend that you wear some sort of gloves, especially if you have a white mat on front when you handle your images and you do your presentation, so the oils and anything on your fingers don't put stains on your front mat board. So additional directions here that kind of say in words as to what we just saw on the previous page. So feel free to take a picture of that also to supplement. And these are some of the problems that we've had in the past. So the photo on the left here, the person has used masking tape. And on the photo on the right, what the person did is they put the picture on the front mat. And if they didn't have adequate tape, double stick tape, adhering the front mat to the back core, when the tape fails, that photograph falls onto the floor with the mat. So this is why we want you to put the photograph on the back board, not adhere it to the front board. Here, the front mat was not cut with a sharp blade, and so the edges are all, I call it gidgy, but they're not completely straight. So make sure you have a sharp blade when you're cutting the outside edge, but also the opening in your mat board if you cut it yourself. So here we have the mat was not cut properly. In the corner, it's not a clean cut. You have the edge of the mounting board. The front mat board is actually smaller than the board that's behind it. The image here, the image was put on a mount board. There was no face mat on it, which was not a problem, but the image was not put on the back mat board squarely. So it's off by some weird angle. We have a couple of problems here. The mat came in with 2 mats, which is not allowed. And then the front mat was actually ivory also. So this was not allowed by the judges. And it's not allowed per the rules. Here, there was a knife slip with cutting of the mat, and the print also was not square with the face mat. So it was askew, as you can see on the edge there. Oh, I remember this so well. The print was delivered, and somewhere at some point before they delivered the presentation to us, somebody stepped on the front mat. And so we could see the waffle cone of the bottom of the tennis shoe on the mat. And unfortunately, we weren't able to clean this off. And so the judges did not accept this to hang in the gallery. Here's the photo corners. And when the print expanded, it caused the front mat to pop off. And there wasn't very much double stick tape used to attach the front mat off also. So of course the front mat did come off. The presentation was dropped before it was brought in. And I just want to let you know that from the time that you deliver your images to us, the photo crew will only handle your images wearing white gloves. So we don't get any fingerprints or oils or stains on your prints. So we're very, very careful with them, and we treat your images like your babies. Here we've got bubbles on the tape, and you probably could have used a little bit more double stick tape here also. Oh, so that is a float mount. And what the person did is they brought in something on acrylic, and it wasn't 16 by 20. So they used gaffer's tape to tape it onto a front mat, and they tried to double stick tape a float mount around it to make it the 16 by 20. And double stick tape can hold up a front mat, but it certainly is not capable of holding the weight of an acrylic print. And this print wasn't able to make it on the wall because there was no way we could put it on the wall. But yeah, that's a float mount, and we do not allow those. So this is what the judging looks like behind the scenes. So we have the judges working in teams of 3. They're looking at a calibrated computer monitor, and they decide whether the images fit in the right category and whether this is an image that they would like to have delivered in print so they can judge it during tier 2.
That's a handsome crew, isn't it?
Yeah, John, where are you?
Oh,
I
don't
think I
think I'm
see
in this
Stephen
picture.
Burns there.
That's John in the lower right-hand corner when he had hair.
It's been 20 plus years since I've been here, but thanks for that anyway, Dwayne.
Okay, so these are
Photo
some of the,
artistry at its best.
these are the things that the judges are looking for, and I think we'll get more into that also when we're doing the live critiquing. And Sometimes the judges do pull teams from another team to come and look at a picture. So if they have a question as to whether it belongs in the right category or not, the judges have the ability to decide whether they're willing to accept it in another category. So it looks like here that the team that's in the front on the left is looking at an image and they say, well, it doesn't fit in our category. Will Stephen Burns' team that's standing up on the back be willing to accept it in the new category that they're judging? This is what the exhibit looks like when we first take it over. And this is what print intake looks like. So you bring it in, and on the left picture there, you walk in through the front door. We get you your tags. On the tables behind, we make sure that it's the right size. And on the right picture here, they're checking for size, but they're also making sure that the proper tags are put on the back of each picture, that it's in the right direction. And you'll see a sheet of white paper underneath the picture there. We put a slip sheet in between every single picture so that they don't rub up against each other and they don't get damaged.
So Joan Everett has a question.
Yes.
Do judges judge prints with their titles?
They can ask for titles. They usually can look at titles if they want during tier 1. I know for documentary pictures, sometimes the title can give context. But the judges do not see the titles, but they can ask the print handlers for titles.
Right.
That is the asking. We're not judging the prints by the title. We're judging the prints by its presentation.
Yeah, by the content.
All right. And this is what judging is like. The prints never actually handle the pictures. We have print handlers, and here we actually have student volunteers that are photography students that handle the pictures. So they tell the judges we have a clerk, they tell them what the entry number is. If the judges want the prints to be moved closer or further away, the print handlers are taking care of that. If the judges want the title of the image or description, then the print handlers can read that off also. On the right-hand side here, it looks like the judges are trying to decide possibly for placement, whether a picture might get first, second, third, fourth place, or maybe for an honorable mention.
That's a really excellent picture as to how the judges have all 3 images are mounted different and presented differently, but they're comparing them as if they're picking 1, 2, and 3. And you don't have to use a window mat in order to create a better presentation. The judges are still going to look at the quality of the image. So that's why those 3 different presentations can be up there and still be under consideration as to which one is number 1, 2, or 3. It's really a good photograph for
You actually asked or point out something very interesting, and I get this question a lot. Should the image be full bleed where it has no white or black border, or should it have a white or black border? And if you take just so everybody knows, at the end of all the judging, we take the first place from each category and pick the best of show. And if you go back and look at pictures of these, I would say that of the 35 or so that were accepted, that were first place pictures, maybe 3 or 4 were full bleed. I think the fact of the matter is that the room that we are judging in is not museum quality lighting. And so because of that, if it has a slight border or a window mat or whatever around it, it tends to present the image a lot better, particularly the judges when they're judging. But that doesn't mean, I know that there was a second place image in night category that was a full bleed image. So don't be scared. If your image works as a 16-inch by 20-inch crop, go for it.
All right, moving on. And this is what the selection of best in show looks like. All of the first place winners for each of the categories are put on a table. The judges each get one card, and they walk around the table and they look at the pictures, and they put their one card on the picture that they think should be best in show. So the pictures that get no votes or very few votes get taken off the table, and they go again and again until there's a clear winner. We have had situations where they've been able to pick the winners in as few as 3 or 4 rounds of voting. And then there's other times where it's taken them 12 or 13 rounds. We had one year where the winning image for Best in Show won by only 1 vote. But interestingly enough, the runner-up for Best in Show ended up winning the People's Choice Award that year. So the People's Choice Award is selected by the public that comes through the gallery. And when they come, they get to vote for their one picture that they love the best. And the picture that gets the most votes at the end of the fair is selected as the People's Choice Award and gets to hang in the gallery the next year with a sign that says it was the previous year's favorite.
Yeah, these
So
are
these-
great photographs. Again, do you mind going back for a moment, Lois? There's in that right-hand picture, it shows one first place in its class, and now it's on the table for best of show, and it's a small print with a large white border around it.
Mhm.
And so that's an example of what Lois was talking about before. You don't have to use, and that John was talking about before, you don't have to use the full 16 by 20. And presentation can be better if it's small. And so here's a picture that's small that's competing for first place of the show. And it's really a great story there.
Even the photograph on the left-hand side, that's one of the large print photos, but that's also a full bleed photo.
And that's a panoramic picture too.
Well, I like to, when I am printing for the large print category, I typically print without the border, and that is because the lighting where the large prints are displayed is better than anywhere else in the gallery. And so they typically present much better there without a border. That's not to say that if you have something for the large print category, you cannot put a white border on it. But typically, if you got a large print, it better darn well better hold up, or it's not going to do very well in that category. I'm talking about as far as resolution and enlarging and all that kind of thing. But that's a good point, Dwayne.
And
Lois,
Yes.
in the large print or the panoramic categories, is that a single print or can that be a triptych?
It's a single print.
I've been asked that multiple times. Thank you.
All right. So these are pictures of our judges and our student volunteers from a couple of the years. So all of the students actually are photography students. And in front of them are the pictures that are finalists for Best in Show. So once the judges pick the pictures, we put Velcro on the back of every single picture. That's what they're doing on the left here. We build all of the walls, put all the signs up. That's what the gallery looks like as we're getting ready for opening. And these are critical dates this year. The entry deadline is April 7th at 7:59. April 16th, you'll be getting an email letting you know what pictures the judges want to have delivered. Starting that next day until May 13th, you can deliver your picture shipped. Print delivery will be May 12th and 13th from noon to 7. The artist reception is going to be a little bit different this year. It's going to be the first evening of the fair. So don't show up the day before the fair opens. It's going to be the first day of the fair.
Does that mean that you have to pay for parking, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
Eek.
So I tried to change that, but I wasn't able to get that changed.
Eek.
So we
And
have
then-
we have 5 minutes left
Okay,
before break.
and then entry pickup will be Tuesday, July 8th. So I only have the slideshow left of last year's winners. So I'm gonna go ahead for that, if that's okay. That's not working.
While Lois is pulling up the
Yeah.
slideshow. For
Are
anybody,
you able to see my winners thing here or not? Do I need to go back?
Let's see. We're seeing the PowerPoint
Are you still
presentation.
seeing PowerPoint?
Yeah. There's a black screen.
Okay, are you seeing winners on the bottom left?
No.
Are you seeing a video now?
No.
Okay,
You may
let
have
me go back here. Let me stop sharing and
to
then
reshare.
go back, and then I got to share screen again. Do window, this one, share.
Let's see.
there we go.
International. We're seeing a black screen with International Exhibition of Photography to the bottom right.
Go ahead and click your play button.
Are you seeing anything?
No.
Still black.
Still black?
Yeah.
Still black?
Yes. Still black.
Okay, let me, sorry.
Man, it's sharing the PowerPoint screen.
Okay, why don't you guys start with the break, and then let me, Stephen, if you don't mind,
Alright.
maybe you and I could spend a few minutes to try to figure this out.
All right. Let's see. Let me do this. I'm going to bring up the 15-minute. We're going to do a nice 15-minute break. Let me. So I'm going to share. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, that's good. That's good there. Give me a hot minute, and I'm going to bring up. There's the 15-minute timer. Let's bring that on over. And I'm going to bring over one of the little thing I'd like to do. Okay, so too many windows open is the problem. There we go. All right. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Let me go to make sure.
Well, Stephen, can you and I test during the break also?
Yeah, I think people will still be able to see us, but hold on. Yeah, I think we can. So
Okay.
give me a second. Give me a second. I'm trying to
Right.
figure out where is my. Is that where's my StreamYard? That's really interesting. Hopefully I didn't knock that out of there. I think that is it. There we go. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to go share my screen. Actually, I'm going to just make it simple. I'm going to switch everything over to here. There we go. That's easier. And we have an official sponsor too. We'll put that right down there and then just go ahead and start playing. 15 minutes. We'll come back and all right. So when the 15-minute timer is up, we'll start the presentation. In the meantime, take a break, snack break, bathroom break, and then Lois and I will try to figure this out so you can see the rest of the video. Okay, so Lois, while there, I am going to, let's see, I should be able to.
Okay, let me
Go
try
for
this now.
Go for it.
Can you see anything?
Yes, now we can see it. Yeah.
Okay, do you want to do this now, or do you want to do it when we come back?
We'll do it when we come back.
Okay.
We'll do it when we come back. let's see, what time do we? Yeah, we can do it when we come back.
Okay. Does it say International Exhibition of Photography
It
First
does.
Place winners?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Let me bring back up my timer. There we go. So just stay right there. Don't change anything. When we
Okay.
come back from break, we'll share that.
Okay. Terrific.
Okay, fantastic. Somebody sounds like they fell.
Hey, Stephen, are we there yet?
We are 2 minutes and 4 minutes, so 4 seconds away.
How about now?
It says 1 minute and 56 seconds away. Are
I'm going
we?
to tell Lois that you're purposely slowing down the timer.
No. I left the computer to go brew my coffee, so I didn't touch it at all. Well, it's the sun is coming out. Down here, is it sunny up there? Or is it wet up there?
It depends on what side of the street you step on.
Damn, that's an interesting ecosystem where you live. That's right, you live up in the hills, huh?
I live in East County in Lakeside, off the beaten path, and their sun's still not shining here.
It's still not shining there? That's unusual.
Tell me.
We
Yeah,
I
have
can't
sun
work
in
on my
Poway.
tan.
We have sun in Poway.
Do you? Yeah, well, I know in the Encinitas area, it's always overcast and foggy. But Oceanside is always bright and sunny. So right now, it's the sun is out. Yesterday, I went down toward Encinitas, and it was completely foggy. Came back to Oceanside, and it was sunny. Kind of reminds me of like, what's that area in Northern California near the coast, Carmel, where Carmel is so beautiful, but it's always overcast and foggy.
Clint Eastwood land.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. 20-something seconds to go. So while that's going, I was actually bringing up the bridge, and I should be in the proper.
Well, Stephen,
Yes.
before we started, I do have that video. Let me see.
Oh yeah, I know. I didn't forget. All right, I'm going to go stop this now. And your video is already queued up, ready to go. So go ahead and start playing your video.
Okay, I'm going to back it all the way to the beginning.
Okay.
And hopefully you can get sound. If not, they can still see
Yeah,
the pretty
if I can hear sound, they can hear sound.
Okay.
Yep, I can hear it. What the hell's going on?
All right. Well, that's a wrap for me.
Oh man, it was great, Lois. You were wonderful as usual. Thank you so very much for being here. And
Awesome, Lois.
well, thank you all, but now it's the judge's turn. And Lois, you can hang around and participate in the judging as well. So now we've had several members submit images. This is where we get to do the dry run judging of images. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up Bridge over here. And I'm going to go right down the line. And we've got about 8 submissions. And I've asked everybody to submit 3. This person, Brittany, I believe I only have 1 from you. So Brittany, if you're here, you're welcome to, ask questions or make comments. Now, also one last thing before we get started. All of the presentations that I do are recorded, and I'm bringing up the link right now. Now, what you see in front of you is the link. Just click on it and just join the mailing list, so that after the meeting, I will send the video directly to you. It's the Photoshop Users Group mail that's free to join. We have monthly meetings. They're all on Twitch right here. They're all recorded, and then you will get access to the recording. So click on it and register. Just need your name, your first and last name, and your email address, and then you're good to go. Okay, so
Stephen, before we get started,
Yeah,
one
sure.
really quick comment, and this has come up a couple of times, at least in the teams that I've judged with. As judges, it absolutely kills us. And I can't even begin to describe how bad it feels when we are looking at a photograph that somebody has paid to have printed, paid to have mounted, taken the time to deliver, and it's not up to display quality for whatever reason, either because the mats were cut badly or there's bubbling under the prints. This is absolutely murder to each of us when we have to reject a physical print as it comes in for second tier judging.
I'm not sure of those who are watching is aware, but I'm also a judge. We really want to see great work. We really do. We want to sit there and go, wow, why didn't I think of that, right? So do your best. Submit your best work. Have it professionally printed and matted, and be a part of the show.
Lois, doesn't at the print intake, don't the people that are taking them in kind of do a quick look-see to make sure everything is kind of kosher, other than the physical size, but don't they look for footprints on a white mat and that kind of stuff? Or
We try to, but we can't always catch everything. So that's why it's like, if you're gonna have somebody do the work, make sure you open up the package and check it before you come in. And I mean, we've had situations where somebody ordered images from a print house and they had it shipped to us. And when we received it, they weren't the right prints. And fortunately, I opened up the box before the deadline. I was able to contact the photographer and say, hey, look, so-and-so print shop didn't give us the right pictures, or it was the wrong size. And they had enough time for them to reprint to the exact dimensions and get it in before my final delivery day.
Wow, that's disappointing. All right, shall we get started? I've got Adobe Bridge open here, and we will go through the images. Now, this one is by Brittany Benson.
we're not seeing any. I'm not anyway. All I'm seeing is your handsome face.
Oh, that's you know why? Because I'm not sharing my.
Share your screen.
Hold on a minute. Give me a hot second. I just messed
Stephen,
up.
rumor has it the first thing that goes is your mind after each birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah! Happy birthday!
Thank you.
What are you, 39 now?
Exactly. Okay, so that's because Lois is still sharing her screen. Well, she was sharing her screen. And I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, where am I? There we go. That's it. I got to share that screen with you guys. So people on Twitch was seeing me. You weren't seeing me. There we go. There we go. All right. I'm going to just take a quick look on Twitch real quick. Make sure we are all on the same page. We are. That looks like a great story, says T. Morris. I'm going to maximize it. All right, give me a hot second because Bridge is not maximizing. What's going on with Bridge?
Glad it's not just me.
Yeah. There it is. It's just taking its time.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if Brittany heard what I first said, which was wow. Because as Lois pointed out, one of those things is impact. And one of the things that I look for when I am judging a contest is uniqueness. And no offense, but there's only so many pictures of, say, the Coronado Bridge that you could see before you got to go, hey, something's got to be unique about it. This is a very unique image, and I really like what I'm seeing here. My biggest concern is really sharpness more than anything. I don't know if that's just the way that JPEG is presenting itself, but and maybe I'm full of it. But it looks like the killer whale on the left-hand side, closest stuff is just a little closest to us, just a little bit soft. But I would accept this.
I would absolutely accept this, and if I was being nitpicky about it, there are three things that I think would make it even stronger. The iceberg in the lower left can be easily cloned out, so it's not a distraction on the border. There is a white piece of ice that's almost dead center frame below the whales that captures my attention and drags me away. And then the dark bottom of the iceberg in the upper right-hand corner, just the bit between the water and the main iceberg itself, is a bit distracting. But I would absolutely accept this as it is.
You know, Dwayne is bringing up something very interesting, because when he gets down to, let's say this makes it to tier 2 and we get this and it's put in with a bunch of other images, the difference between something that places first, second, third, fourth, or honorable mention versus something that doesn't is the kind of stuff Dwayne is mentioning.
What category would you judges suggest? Mammals?
Architecture. Oh, no, wait, I'm just kidding.
This seal is there saving its life from being eaten alive. The narrative in this story is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really appreciate what's going on in that seal's life right now, he's got 3 killer whales on his tail, and all he's got is that little slab of ice. Wow.
So I don't know how much processing the maker has done in this picture, but if, what do you folks think about possibly if it's just minor tweaking to it without all the different changes? And could this be entered in documentary?
It could be a documentary. This has got
that would be you got to think about the category though too, because something in documentary, it needs to tell a story. Does this tell a story? Absolutely. Please don't get me wrong. Kurt pointed that out. This seal or sea lion is fearing for its life at this point. It's survival. But I'm almost also thinking of what we've seen in documentary in the past. It's usually like the fire. I have a feeling that all the fire that we've had up in LA and what have you, are going to be featured heavily in the documentary category. Am I saying it doesn't belong in the documentary category? No, but I'm almost thinking that it might do better in a mammals category.
If this was going to go into the documentary, and one of the earlier comments in Lois's presentation was, take a look at it for multiple stories, multiple photographs. As this sits as an overall, we have the overall story of the whales that appear to be dancing. If you're a nature buff, you know that seal's life is in jeopardy. However, if this was going to go into documentary, I would zoom in on that story and just show the killer whale and the seal bringing more tension, more fear about that particular story and eliminating the two whales on the left.
Yeah,
That's a very, very good suggestion.
Yeah.
This could be a square format on the right-hand side of the image.
right. So we got two separate images here. We got one of the two whales only to the left. I'm kind of using my cursor to move around it, and another separate image to the right, which is actually stronger.
You may even play with making this more pano and just cutting out that entire row of upper icebergs.
I'm okay with those icebergs myself, and I can talk myself into the three whales. I can talk myself back into the three whales. But that seal has gone through hell to get up on top of this piece of ice, and those killer whales hunt strategically, and it's a great photograph.
So those whales are basically trying to scare the seal off that plane of ice.
Well, they're looking for a way to grab it. Yes.
So I have a comment and a question. So my comment is, I think that the seal's life is actually in more danger because there are three killer whales there. But my question to the judges is, let's say the maker decides to enter this as a panel. Can you talk about what your thoughts are if they do it in the 16 by 20? Let's assume they're entering in the regular category of mammals. If they do it as a panel picture that's printed and mounted to 16 by 20, can you talk about the presentation and what your thoughts are regarding the box look versus a mat?
If it was me, I would go all the way 18 inches left to right, leave a little bit of border on the left and right, and instead of centering it right in the image of the 16 by 20 horizontal, make it a little bit top heavy, so there's more space at the bottom than there is at the top, and I think it would work really well. And if you're talking, I'm guessing like an 8 or a 9 inch height by 18 inches. But assuming I mentioned it was not sharp enough, but that may just be the way it's resolving here. Plus, that's something you can correct for your print. So if it's me, I would go as big as you can. This is a very impactful image.
Yeah,
I guess my question really is, what do you guys think if they were to print 20 inches along the long side and then have a black bar or a white bar on the bottom? Can you address that?
I would put a black bar maybe a half inch all the way around.
Yeah.
I would absolutely cut out the top row of icebergs, as I mentioned earlier. And the reason for that is, if you think about traditional cinema, when you want to create tension before a murder scene or something scary is about to happen, you come in really, really close into the attacker's eyes and just do that super tight close-up. And that's what I would apply here, because of the psychological value that it adds to the stress that's taking place. So the more narrow, the wider it becomes, the more stressful the photograph takes on. And then by putting that black border all the way around, it eliminates any opportunity for that seal to be able to exit stage camera right.
So the author mentions that the orcas did not eat this one. The juvenile on the left looked like it was playing with the seal, its food.
Well, orcas are mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's a great photo. It's what a great one to start with.
All right. Shall we go to the next? All right. Let's go to the next one. All right. Brittany, great job. Great job. So hopefully you've gained some valuable feedback from that. She mentioned that DJ Arnold mentions that when he's making a comment to Brittany that you captured a moment. It's awesome. Great compliment from a fellow artist. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Cindy. We'll look at the first of one of her photographs.
Well, I think this fits squarely in bird category.
Definitely.
It's a cool shot.
Something I like to do as a post-processing guy, and this is just me, I think it's a really nice image. I think the crop is really nice. You might want to bring out the area around the eye a little bit. Not where it looks like, it's a zombie bird or anything, but I mean, just kind of bring out, because that's one of the finer details of the bird is that the way the eye is looking right at you. Love the strong shadow highlight play though. Something else I'm seeing in this that I like is that we don't have any highlights that are so washed out that it looks ridiculous. And that something like that, if it had washed out highlights, may not even make it past tier 1, just so you know.
I would say that this is actually on the board. I'm a little bit concerned about the highlights in the bird's wings on the lower camera right, because that is so bright that it prevents me from looking into the eye. So either a slight vignette, go into your highlights and pull that down, and maybe even bring up the shadows along the top of the bird's beak on camera left. Because when we have a live subject, and especially when the eyes are visible, we want to be able to connect with it, and I have to look in order to find the pupil of this guy's eye.
Anthony, come on, speak up, buddy.
Definitely. On this one, I agree with what Dwayne is saying too. Some of the things, I know this is definitely just because it's a low res image, but the edges around the birds, especially towards the top, my concern is the sharpness. Since we're really focused, but there's no other information around the silhouette, my concern would be just to make sure that when it gets to print, that the quality of that detail does retain all the way around the edges, since that's the only thing we can really reach from. But I do think that the shadows work really. I mean, it's really stark contrast. It works great, but I am concerned just about the detail when it goes to print to make sure that those edges hold up.
I think most of these guys here would probably agree with me. I would accept this. I would like to see this as a print in tier 2.
Absolutely.
And I should mention too that the bird category is, if I'm not mistaken, Lois, is it one of the largest or close to it?
Cell phone typically has been the largest category.
Right.
Birds has been pretty large also.
And the bird photographers are no slouches at all. We have some of the strongest bird photographers in the world, right, located here in Southern California. So you're going to have to impress some people who understand. I'm not a birder. I don't know anything about it, but other than our hummingbirds, I like that they fight as much as those crazy orcas do. By the way, Kurt, they're mean too.
How do we feel about the white splotch on the beak?
Oh, until you pointed it out, I didn't even notice it. So that's probably a good sign. But Dwayne is right. That edge, the bird on the wing on the right-hand corner is a little hot. I don't know. If you open that shadow area, like Dwayne had suggested, you might need to just kind of briefly clone that out. That's a good thought.
One other quick comment for the maker to play with. I kind of want to see this as a black and white.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I was kind of thinking that too. In black and white pictures, we usually don't get that many entries.
Because of what Lois said, and part of the reason for my comment, since God knows what judges think, when entering a photo competition, it's not just about the photograph itself, but think about the strategy that you use to win, because it is a competition. You want to enter this with 500 other birds, or do you want to enter it with 3 other birds in a division that gives you a better chance of making it to the top, meaning less competition?
Great point.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one.
We have the late great David King, who told us that, and Lois referenced this earlier, that we as judges know there's an image in there, a photograph in there somewhere, but it's not up to us to find it. And so I think that this one really needs to be cropped in about 50% so that it focuses on the bee, the interior of the flower. And I know it has a name, but that tall stamen or whatever the heck it's called, I think that your bee is getting lost in the image. And with a good, proper use of the rule of thirds, I think you could make this a lot better crop, a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with cropping on the left, but I don't know if I'd go 50%. I know it's a concern with highlights a little bit on the left-hand side.
I'm going to make 3 points, and I'm making these comments so the maker has something to think about. I love the photograph as it is overall and the work that it went to put this together. However, going into something like the San Diego competition, I would be forced to or compelled to vote this out.
Unfortunately, I would have to say the same thing.
And the reason for it is we have at least a half dozen blown highlights starting in the lower right-hand corner, the leaf that is directly across the bee to the left. We have a background that falls into middle brown, not middle gray, so it's not complementary to the flower. And unfortunately, and I do agree with in terms of composition, cropping in and putting that bee onto one of the points of the rule of thirds. However, as is, I don't think it's going to help, because by looking closely at the bee, we don't have any definition in the eyes that should be there. The head of the bee is black, and I realize we're talking about a tiny subject, but it is a competition. And so the maker needs to find a way to get the bee lit if indeed the bee is the subject. If the subject is the stamen of the flower, then the bee needs to be cloned out.
Was I right? It's called a stamen. Was I actually right about that? Oh,
I'm just taking your words and hoping that you know what the hell you're talking about.
So I could have called it McGillicuddy and you would have agreed with me, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
All right. So let's go to the next one if there are not any more.
I would soften things a little bit. If the person makes the corrections that have been recommended and the highlights could be corrected, it would probably get past the first round, but it might not get awarded. Just softening things up a little bit. So.
Okay.
And if you were to enter this picture, it would depend on what story you're trying to tell as to whether you would enter it in insects or whether in flowers.
Well, boy, that's a good question, because they're both categories that, I mean, if it's in a flower category, you're going to be competing against a bunch of really strong flowers, no pun intended. And if you enter in the insect category, you're going to be entering against a bunch of very strong insects, which goes back to what I was talking about. And I believe Dwayne had mentioned this too, about cropping into the subject, because it's like that. And I don't know who it was that suggested, which I thought was a great suggestion on the orca seal shot or sea lion shot, that the subject really was the look of the face on that sea lion in survival mode, and you know, that's I think what we're lacking here a little bit too.
Okay. All right. Can we move on to the next one? All right, Cindy, thank you very much for submitting with great work. Let's go on to Diane Arnold.
I'm just going to start with, ooh, I like this.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
mammals for sure. I think that this would, if you're thinking of entering this, when it comes time, if it's accepted for delivery, play with the color of the mat. I think that this image could look completely different based on depending on whether you decide to go with the white mat or whether you go with a black mat. And I think it's going to look completely different.
You know, on that point, those that know me know I don't even have Lightroom loaded on my computer because I abhor Lightroom. But I know on Photoshop you can easily set up your screen so that you can press, I believe, the F key and show the image with a black or a white background and look it on the screen and see what you come up with. But Lois brings up a good point. And it might be that it works with a white image with a black pinstripe. I'm sorry, a white mat with a black pinstripe. I'm not saying it will. I'm just throwing that out.
I love this as it is. Matting in this case would definitely help. And again, to be nitpicky, on the right-hand side, there are 2 black branches that are just protruding in by about 1/4 inch. This next comment is for the maker to play with if they so choose. Play with a color desaturation. It's another way of taking it to black and white, but I can see this going full high key monochrome with different shades of white all the way through by removing all other color. In any case, I would personally accept this.
I'd also like to bring up that it might not be a bad idea to isolate the eyes and lighten them up just a smidgen. Again, going back to with the bird thing, yeah, just a little. I mean, you don't want it to look like, zombie polar bear or anything, but
Oh, well, that could be cool.
Just a thought.
Stephen, are you able to zoom in to see whether there's any catch lights in the eyes?
Sure.
Oh. It's not so much, well, there is a little catch light, but there's also a little bit of brownish color in there. I mean, I'm talking minor, and it's like everyone has said, this is a really fun image, but it might be interesting to see what happens if you lighten those images, the eyes up about 10%.
Yeah. Now, John mentions the concept of these minor little things that he's seeing, but in today's technology, ignoring the minor is no excuse because we got the tools to deal with that. But yeah, I know I'm seeing something that bugs me a little bit.
I just saw something else. This appears to be a composite.
Yes, and it's right in
the
here.
The mountain should not go through the body of the bear. It should not be able to see behind it.
That's
right.
Not
to mention the fact that the bear's body,
you're right,
the lower right-hand corner fades out.
Right. That would kill it for me, for the judging. So use your masking to make sure the body is eliminated in this lower right-hand corner, allowing the mountain to frame the bear. Use it as a framing device for the bear. Then it works.
Yeah, I caught that as soon as he zoomed in on it. Oh.
Yeah. See the detail difference between those two elements.
Yeah. All right. Shall we go to the next one?
Lois, that actually brings up a question. Would that be accepted in the mammal category, even though it's a composite?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. That's what I thought. I just want to check.
I think cityscape architecture.
Yep, definitely. And some of the lights, my eyes went straight to there was in center, almost like middle section where the lights are almost blown out, and it's like a really almost hot bluish light that kind of peers through. That's what caught my eye initially. But I do think the balance for the background structure, it really holds together. But if there's a way to maybe tone down how hot that contrast gets in that center section, that would really help. I think this image a lot, but the lighting is captured really nice.
Or you could put orcas and sea lions in there.
Yeah, I think maybe just above that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll stop. No, I agree with Anthony. I really like the composition of this, and obviously it would go in an architectural category, and I think it would do well. If it was me and I was judging tier 1 in that category, I would accept it. I would like to see this printed.
Absolutely.
Every now and then I get the opportunity to work with some really amazing architectural photographers. Mm-hmm. Here are a couple of things that I'm picking up. I'm not sure if the image is actually perfectly centered. And the horizon line, and I don't know if it's the horizon line itself, but if you look at the bottom platform center, the left edge of that platform is probably 2 to 3 pixels taller than the right edge. And I think the camera maker or the image maker wasn't perfectly centered, but that can easily be fixed with a little bit of warping inside of Photoshop.
Right.
If there is a way to bring down the highlight of the beam on the left, then I would stop being pulled to camera left, a little more to the left, Stephen. The highlight, yeah, the highlight in the main beam, because the beam on the camera right is shadowed all the way through, and it's causing a slight imbalance. Now, again, this is me being ultimately nitpicky. I would absolutely accept this into tier 1 judging, and I would easily accept it in tier 2 judging, assuming the print didn't have any bubbles or flaws.
And that's a good point that you bring up about the nitpicking, because again, like as I mentioned earlier, yeah, we would accept this to tier 2, but you remember it's going to be against a bunch of other architectural pictures, and it's going to be judged against them. And at that point, we have to be nitpicky, for lack of a better word, but does this get accepted for 1 through 4 in place, or does it get accepted for an honorable mention, or does it's just not as strong as we thought it was when we accepted it for tier 2?
So judges, I have a question. What are your thoughts if this were to be converted to a black and white?
I think this would be really strong as a black and white, but as a black and white, one of the problems that's likely going to come out is that the highlights that were previously talked about in the main dome, in each of the pillars to the right and left of the dome where the highlights are already blown, they're going to bring even more attention to those areas.
I kind of like the color myself.
Yeah, I think the color works.
Oh, and I just noticed something too. It looks like the image maker has masked off the top with a black mask, and I'm almost wondering, I'm just going to throw this out, maybe it wouldn't work if they were to mask off the bottom left and the bottom right hand corner. Nah, maybe not. Maybe that would be too much.
And there's another problem with this image. The details and the repetitive texture is beautiful, but overall the whole thing is a little bit soft. Tonally,
sure,
it's soft.
And it could be easily sharpened.
Yes.
You should add.
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't made any comments about sharpness because I'm just making the assumption that zoom is probably compressing the images. But look at
that's it. Blame it on zoom. Don't blame it.
I'm actually only blaming it on Zoom because I know it's being transmitted through John Watts' machine. And
Wait, I got a fact. How can that
be? I knew
it. Yeah, I knew something was up. All right, let's go to the next image.
Ask tier 1, but I don't think it'd be awarded in tier 2. I think its biggest problem is that it wants to be symmetrical around that center line, but when you go out to the right and left, is significantly not symmetrical along the upper edges. So I think the symmetry part of the story sort of falls apart up in the upper right.
I think that's what Dwayne was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Could I just add a comment? Kurt just made a comment about, well, this is something that I would want delivered and I would have it on the wall, but I wouldn't give it a ribbon. Just want to let you guys know, this is one of the biggest and most competitive photo competitions that there is, printed competitions. And with only 1/3 to 1/4 of the images that get submitted being accepted to hang in the gallery, that should be your goal. How the judges see the pictures, who judges each team, each category of pictures, that will differ from year to year. And people judge things based on their own life experiences. So please don't concentrate on winning a ribbon. concentrate on improving your work so that you can be hung in the gallery.
Right. And then another huge thing that changes year to year is who you're competing with. The other people who are submitting work. What's the quality of the work that they're submitting? That's a huge part of whether or not you hang or get awards.
So you need excellence all along the chain, from what you enter into tier 1 to what you present in tier 2.
But I think Lois's point's correct. I think this would get in the show, is my guess. I wouldn't discourage the person from submitting this image. I think it's a cool image.
This, to me, this is more of a snapshot.
It's weird about the symmetry. The symmetry, I wonder if I was in the situation, what's the solution to the left and right symmetry falling apart where the center symmetry seems to be working?
I would dare say take a few more steps back and then check the symmetry before taking the photograph, because there's no amount of what I'll call simple Photoshop work that's going to allow you to rebuild a difference on the right and the left. And when I was commenting about the pixel shift not being quite balanced, if we look at this in terms of symmetry, symmetry would actually dictate that the dome on the right, if you look at the curve, you can see the frame of, I'll call it the webbed structure behind it coming on top of the curve. But when you look at the curve on the left, the building actually disappears into the curve, which means that the entire photograph is tilted like this.
Right.
That's getting into what Lois was talking about earlier about the horizon line not being straight.
Right. Okay. That's I think we're done with this one. Diane, thank you. Great job overall.
But despite all of my comments, I do love that photograph.
Yeah.
He's working on it.
Yeah. Okay. Fern Rabasa. Interesting.
I think she likes dogs.
Yeah. My best friend, maybe category, Lois?
This will certainly fit into the category fair theme, the summer spectacular.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
sure
the
would.
first, I'm not quite sure what I think of the fence behind that's so bright white.
Yeah.
But then,
That's what I was going to point
at the
out.
same time, if you look beyond that, there's that red door in the back, and he's wearing red also.
How about a vertical crop on this?
Yeah, I think so.
Go with a vertical crop and then darken just a neutral density filter is all it takes, is everything in the background, so that the dog is kind of standing out. And also the shadow detail in the dog's nose is too blocked up. Again, in the original it may be okay, and it may be because it ran through my machine before it hit zoom. No, I'm just kidding. That it looks blocked up, but I find those distracting. I personally, I think if I were looking at this in tier 1, I would not accept it. It needs some work.
The vertical crop helps a lot.
Yeah, but
What's that?
The vertical crop would help a lot.
Well, I think the maker got a super cute moment, though. I mean, it is
absolutely.
a nice portrait.
Yeah,
The photograph is adorable, but I'm also actually wondering if there has been a fair bit of compositing done. And what I'm looking at is the shadows on the flags in the puppy's paws look very different. As I'm following the puppy's paws around, he looks like he's been cut out to some degree. The level of sharpness on the edge of the flags, the bottom of the paws, just don't seem to blend into what I would expect to see on the chair. And there's other areas where it looks like this is 2 different photographs. I'm a little bit bothered that the horizon line isn't even. There's a few pixels of trees above the fence on the left-hand side, but the fence is actually cut into on the right-hand side. And then the vertical of the fence on the left also isn't straight.
Okay.
Those are things that I'm picking up.
Right.
I would say that this could advance to tier 2 easily with the lot, with the if the photographer does some of the things that we've talked about here. But like Lois said, the subject is very strong.
Spot on. Absolutely love the concept.
Yeah. A different background for the artist. Those lines back there are implied lines that cut through your subject. That's kind of a no-no, especially for portraiture. And this is a portraiture.
Yeah.
So you got all these lines cutting through the eyes, cutting through the head, cutting through the body. So a different background. Choose a different background.
If you did that, you could also get more space between the ears and the top of the image.
Yeah, it's almost going off the edge.
Yeah. You're real close on this one.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at the next one that Fern submitted.
Is this dog's name Consuela or something? I mean, it's like, looks like it's ready to do the, Olay dance or something. I don't know.
Brightening the camera left eye would probably help, but it's a good shot.
I would accept this into tier 1. I would be looking at other photographs to offer an award at some point. And the main reason for that is the point of focus is the puppy's tongue. When you look at the left side of the tongue, that's tack sharp, but the eyes are soft. So the focus is actually off on this. It was probably shot at a shallow depth of field, which would explain why the eyes are falling off.
Or they're using a softening filter around the outside and just kind of missed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll go back to the shadow area around the nose and the dogs as we're looking at it. The eye on the left. To me, like Dwayne said, the focus is getting lost because we're not sure where our eye's supposed to go at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, so almost like the highlight from the nose and the camera right eye are very even, and then you lose that highlight for camera left eye. So and yet the highlights are stronger on the tongue. Again, like Dwayne mentioned, so that if there is a way to kind of control where those hot spots start to hit, that would definitely help with focus.
Well, I think especially when you do dogs with long snouts, it's super hard to get a nose and eyes in focus at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you use a bigger f-stop, that might help you a little bit.
One of the things,
or have the dog turn their head a little bit so that the nose isn't pointed directly toward the camera.
One of the things that I've learned in working with photographers and some of the teaching that I've done is people for whatever reason, like to photograph with really shallow f-stops, depth of field. 2.8 isn't always the answer just because your lens will go there. Most of my pet work, I normally photograph at either between 5.6 or f8.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm normally working from a distance of about 10 to 15 feet in an enclosed studio. So don't be afraid to use the larger apertures on your lenses, and you'll generally even get a sharper image overall at those apertures.
Right.
Actually, it's a smaller aperture, larger number.
Correct.
I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next one. I think that's there we go.
I think there could be also, again, a little bit more focus brought towards the face, just so the light is not even all the way up and down on the subject. I definitely think it would help because you're almost wanting to look down, at the green and the cloth, and so to me, my eyes start to go down a little bit, but.
Right.
I definitely think if there's a way to bring up, and especially how the gradient in the background goes from that almost softer dark cream color back into white, it brings your eye right back down again. So I do think if there's a way to bring attention back towards the head, it really would help this piece for sure with lighting.
This is a case where I would also recommend some liquefaction. I'm not sure what's going on with the fur on camera right above the puppy's neckline. It looks like it's being pulled out for whatever reason. It just, the other side. Yeah, that right there. It doesn't make sense to me as to why that's being pulled out. Whatever those orange spots are in the background, those can easily be taken out. And if you have the original, if this isn't the original cropping, the cropping in this case at the puppy's chest seems off. We're cropping into the scarf and we're cropping right at the top of his shoulders. And I kind of want to see a little more of his chest instead of just the top of his shoulder blades.
And open it up on the right side of the image as we're looking at it, if you can. Your dog is incredibly photogenic, and you're real close on all three of these images. I assume it's the same dog, but obviously a character, and it's coming out in most of the photographs, most of the images. Actually, in all three of the images, I just think they all need a little fine-tuning from a photographic standpoint.
And keep in mind this year when you enter pets, because of the theme of the fair, assume that you're going to be competing against 3,000 other pet photographs.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one.
We traditionally don't get all that many people that enter the fair theme.
Okay,
And
2,000 then. All right, come on.
2,999.
Yeah.
All right, Jennifer Riggins.
So I think that would be a landscape picture. So it'd be pick a season.
Well, I think you got the same challenge we talked about earlier. I think that what you're trying to do is show the sunset, but the sunset is not the subject matter. I think a radical crop from the right, this is just me, a radical crop from the right-hand side and a radical crop down from the top to focus on what is the subject matter, which is all this really, of course, I'm pointing with my mouse, but still all this really neat motion or the that's showing up in the waves and in the cove itself. And the other thing too that really drives me kind of crazy is the lack of shadow detail in the trees, in particular above the cove.
Judges, do any of you think this would do well in waterscape or not?
For waterscape, I definitely think if it was cropped, it would help a lot more. Because my eye immediately goes to the camera, right? So I do think if it was cropped, a little bit sharper towards water, yes, absolutely work for that.
As I'm providing everybody with a view of my forehead, it's an instinct that I can't help. We have a horizon line in the middle of the photograph. Many judges will consider that a kiss of death. Make a decision. Put that horizon line either on the top third or the bottom third, depending on what your subject is. Technically, it's already been mentioned, one of the biggest challenges is that there is so much black and so little detail in the foreground, in the middle of the photograph. I'm not sure how to crop it that would minimize the lack of detail, because I know there's texture in those trees and the rocks. If maybe this is an HDR, then use one of your brighter images to put some of that detail back.
It's not uncommon for us as judges when we look at these images and go, geez, I really wish I had the original capture on this. We could do so much more. And I kind of feel the same way on this one. I think this image has strong potential, but A, the crop, and B, the shadow detail. And I believe Dwayne mentioned also the horizon. I think that you know, you've got a good, strong subject. You just need to let the judges know what it is we're supposed to be looking at.
There's a curvature in the horizon line. Pull one of your Photoshop horizontal lines down, and you'll see that the center of the horizon is taller than the right or left.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a a lot of post-processing issues. Learning how to use Photoshop to really bring out those details.
Whoop. Steven, I think you crapped out there on your sound. Are you?
No, I'm here. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
that's just my hearing. Sorry.
What?
All right, let's see.
If this was coming in at tier 1, I would pass on it to advance to tier 2 as it is.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next image.
Well, this would fit squarely in. If the person's actually submerged in water, this could fit in the underwater experience.
Well, so what's the rule if the person is not submerged in water but photographing through plexiglass?
Go to
And
the
there's a
aquarium
different
category.
for that.
Yeah.
That's a different category, and that would be, let me see.
So the artist just responded. She says, "Yes, I am underwater." So
I love that.
I guess you would know, right?
A cool shot.
Yeah.
I like that seal in the background looking at the camera. I think
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I started laughing at. I love this one.
So this was off of La Jolla Cove.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The quality of the light streaming down and hitting their faces is really amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really.
Yeah, it's really strong.
The
What about darkening the left-hand corner or reducing the brightness?
Yeah.
Some guy named Ansel Adams was really good at that.
Yeah. Now T. Morris mentioned that brighten up the closest seal. A little bit dark.
Yeah, a little bit. I wonder if you could clone the grass into the left-hand corner.
Yeah, and this is help with that balance. I think that.
Oh,
that'll
yeah.
help.
Yeah.
the
Because
water
line
spot
goes
in,
over there.
the water spot in the upper left-hand corner can easily be taken out. Left-hand top, Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
balls.
one thing I wish was there is these guys are all dead center. So I kind of want to see a little more space for them to swim into on the right-hand side.
Oh, on the right-hand side over here.
Or crop a little bit from the left.
Yeah, you can crop a little from the
Yeah,
left.
fuck to the left.
Go from the left would help. Yeah, it's a cool shot.
Yeah, it's really good.
This would definitely be accepted.
It's
Yeah.
an example of the narrative really makes this shot powerful. The picture of that seal looking right at the camera.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the stuff that we mentioned is stuff that is going to get you first through fourth or honorable mention.
Yeah, it's taking it to the next level, especially when you're right about
Thank you.
that.
Yeah.
Cloning that grass over this brown rock will help with the composition of the overall.
Yeah, you want to pull the attention away from that corner.
Right.
And all patrol stuff is good. But great shot.
Yeah.
All right. So the artist says thank you with 3 exclamation points. So that's
Tell her she owes me $5.
Yeah, and it's my birthday, so
another $5.
Another dinner.
There you go, Anthony.
For a minute.
Hey, I'm working it. All right, Joan Everts. Let me zoom in a little more. Oh, that's good.
So this would be in the digital category?
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
like this.
Yeah, this feels like this brush strokes for sure.
Yeah, and I can get in closer if you like. Let me get it even closer.
I'm getting dizzy.
I'm not getting dizzy. I'm getting a little seasick. River sick.
Oh no.
Didn't know you had to take Demerol just to judge images.
I know, exactly.
Demerol or Dronamine?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I don't know. Begin with a D.
Just a reminder, if the maker were to enter this in digital photographic art that a thumbnail of the original photographs used to make this would need to be included as part of the collage for the tier 1 submittal.
I was actually going to comment on that. So I love the overall photograph, but if I am judging this in electronic artistry and digital, I have a problem. I don't know if the maker actually did any work or if they went to Photoshop and applied a quick filter.
Right.
And that's because I don't know where it started. I have no idea if this was 2, 3 different photographs. And so I don't know what the complexity level is. Now, would I accept it into tier 1? Yes, I would.
Tier 2, you mean?
I would accept it as tier 1. Tier 2, if it really comes down to the number of images. Tier 2, all we get to do is judge on the final.
Yeah,
but if I have to compare to others.
Okay, yeah, we're just getting our terminology mixed up. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, tier 2, I think the main reason that anything would be rejected in tier 2 is if it's just not properly matted and presented.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, if you got accepted in tier 1, you're pretty much guaranteed in tier 2 unless you really screw up the matting and the presentation.
And we should, as judges, not be judging tier 2 images for rejection based on subjective criteria, because we can come back the next day and have a totally different look at it or a different set of judges. But like has been pointed out, if it's got a footprint on a white mat or it's crooked or it's falling out of the mat or whatever, then we have to reject it. We can't. Lois, how many were actually rejected last year? 20 maybe, not even?
Maybe 15 or 20, not that many.
But it was all for those reasons. It was for non-subjective reasons. It was for physical reasons, basically.
Typically presentation, occasionally somebody will have their name on the print or put their name on the mat.
I think last year we had one where the electronic tag that's supposed to be placed on the mat was put on the back 90 degrees off. So we had to judge that sideways versus how it was intended.
It's interesting.
Interesting.
It sounds like this would get through tier 1 and it would probably be presented okay, and so get into the show on tier 2, but it might not place in the upper 3.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the competition that this will be up against, it may not place like with the overall. What's it when we do the cards and the final prints at the end? It probably won't place.
Joan, I love
I certainly would not encourage anybody to not enter though, because they may not win a ribbon. Enter because you want to enter and you wanted to get into the gallery.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say to Joan, your as usual, your use of color is phenomenal. Yeah, and it really, really works in this image, all the colors that you've got going on and the whole range and the palette, if you will.
Yeah, Joan knows what she's doing. She took my Photoshop classes.
Yeah, I want to echo Lois's point. If you're juried into the show, that's something that you should promote yourself on, that you were juried into a juried show. So.
One little nitpicky thing. So if you follow camera left down the corner of the wall, the area between the line of the boat and the green edge of the boat, there is a sudden vertical line of black sharpness that doesn't need to be there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what, DJ
So
Arnold.
Steven needs to teach you better Photoshop.
And I've been posting that link in the chat box, so you guys have an opportunity to take the class. In fact, right after we're done, someone here will have the ability to win a 5-week Photoshop class. So stick around.
Can I enter?
Of course you can enter. So
forget the book I have on Amazon. That's
All right, so stick around. All right, let's go to the next person. I think we're done with. Oh no, we're
Oh,
not. No,
we
we're
got
not. We got
one
one
more.
more. We got one more.
Oh yeah.
Racia Alger.
Okay, so I'm thinking and hoping here that this is a piece that has been assembled from a whole bunch of other things.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And if rather than somebody taking a picture of somebody's artwork. So if this is indeed somebody, the maker has assembled a number of different things to make a piece, then this would go in digital photographic art.
Just from knowing Joan, I know this is probably her putting a lot of hard work into it.
This is another one where showing the thumbnails would just show that the post compositing is over the top.
Yeah.
Right.
You probably heard a couple of us going, "Oh wow," when it came up.
Yeah.
So in the impact area, this
Yeah.
is hitting 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
In the technical area, everything looks amazingly well blended. In the lighting area, it's evenly lit, but it's not flat. So there's difference in lighting all the way throughout the photograph, and those subtle differences keep bringing us into the face instead of letting us run away from it.
Yeah.
It's very strong across the board.
This is an artist that has an understanding of art, not just photography.
Mm-hmm. And I like how that the different book covers kind of aim and point towards the face.
Oh yeah. Very strong image shown. Very nice.
Very good.
Yeah, this is a very strong.
It has a good narrative too, so
It does.
Yeah.
It does. All right, let's go to the next person. I think that's it with let me get this here. Go back. That's it with Joan. We got Lacey next.
By the way, John, we all take Venmo. Thank you.
I mentioned earlier in the first half that 16 by 20 versus a full bleed 16 by 20 versus with a mat. And I mentioned there was a second place or third place in night photography, and Lacey's was one of them, and it was a full bleed image. It was very, very nice. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was hers.
Okay, so I'm thinking that this could fit either in timeless landscape, or it could be in color nature, all other plants and trees.
Yeah, this one I would increase the luminance in the cactuses in the front just a little bit so it jumps out.
Yeah, push that a little forward. Absolutely. The detail was great though.
What would happen if the sky was darker? Just throwing that out.
It would have been more focused to the front, this foreground.
Yeah, just a thought.
Increasing the luminance in the cactus, darkening the sky is going to add more of a feel of a foreground, middle ground, and background.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I was grabbing some paper just so I could see what a different cropping would be, because we're actually, I think we're losing a little bit of impact by having the cactus centered, but having that tumbleweed leading into the cactus, which breaks the symmetry. So cropping into the bottom of the cactus and cropping out maybe the right 25%. So that way the cactus becomes an anchor point as well as a focal point, and then it pushes the mountains back even farther without leaving the blue stretch of sky on the very right-hand side.
I think this would definitely advance to tier 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Ooh.
So
Is that
this
kind
could
of a-
fit in winter.
Yeah, probably. But it's just got a real nice misty, ethereal feel to it.
Yeah.
I'm almost wondering if you were to, maybe I could be dead wrong on this, to maybe just kind of darken the corners a little, slight vignetting, but that may destroy the feel of it. So I'm not sure that's necessarily right. The monochromatic feel of this is really cool with the moon standing out with that reddish cast to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It works so well that I'm glad that it doesn't have really, really rich shadows, and this works so well like that.
Yeah.
Does it
This
need
one-
brown along the bottom, or could that be cropped out entirely?
Say that again.
Just a question, does it need the brown along the bottom, or could that be cropped out entirely?
Oh, I don't know. I think it kind of gives a perspective. I don't find it distracting, but that's just me. Others might.
If I left it in, I would clean up the bottom edge a little bit to get some of the stuff away from the
Yeah.
edge.
Yeah,
I
sitting
think-
on the edge.
If we go back to Kurt's narrative concept, that ground along the bottom, I think, hurts this piece, because the narrative is this ethereal feel, this ethereal painting, and the bottom is very sharp and photographic in nature, where the top 2/3 is very painterly.
Huh.
So I would crop out that bottom completely and keep the entire painterly look. So take out this whole bottom section, take it away, and just crop it up to there.
Maybe you just make it a little more pano.
Yeah, make it a little more panel. I mean, no, that's just the cropping when I
Sure.
just crop into that, and then keep that soft ethereal feel all the way through.
Agreed with everything that's been said. I would also be playing with the idea of whether I wanted to compete against every other landscape image.
It won't
Well,
do.
maybe
Yeah.
going black and white by desaturating the blues, desaturating the yellows, and it's going to lean in even more to the ethereal feel by going almost a full black and white, but through a desaturation and not so much a black and white conversion.
I would say go completely black and white and then submit it into the black and white category and see what happens.
I'm almost wondering if you do that, if it would lose its ethereal feel, it might need an increase in contrast if you go contrast overall if you go black and white.
I don't think it will. I just think we'll just lose that color. You can still keep it. You can print this as a high key print,
Sure.
right? Which will keep that ethereal feel. High key meaning using only the tones from medium gray all the way up to bright white.
Sure.
It's a really nice capture. I mean,
Yeah.
that action,
Yes.
clouds and the moon. Wow, it's just so cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
And playing with cropping out, you could probably take out, if you're going to lean into more of a pano, you could probably take out almost a third of that sky.
Yeah.
But some of the sky could come out if the bottom came out. Not too much.
I don't know. That kind of breaks up the rule of thirds going on, though, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't mind it too much. Boy, that moon is just. That's
You know
really
what? He's right about that. His composition here is not what we have. The composition for this artist, if you look at my cursor, the bottom starts here.
There's actually two photographs here.
Yeah,
At least.
This is the strongest composition. Just keep it in the third and bring it down. Use the mountains as a framing for the moon. Let the moon be the subject. That's the composition here.
Yeah, but if you crop too high, then you lose that fog feeling at the bottom.
I don't know.
Whoever mentioned cropping, retrospect, I thought I kind of liked the fence, but in retrospect, I think if you crop just the fence out, it still keeps that kind of foggy look at the bottom.
All right.
Again, like has
try
been mentioned,
something.
there's at least 2 or 3 different images out of that one shot, or two or three different crops that would work on that image.
The field and the fence is actually its own photograph. I would take it out even more. Keep going to the right, Stephen.
Keep going to the right, like this.
Yep. Keep going. Now pan the whole thing back to the left.
Okay.
Other way. There you go.
Yeah, that can work.
I don't know. I don't find it as the image is effective for the crop like that, but that's just me.
Okay.
But as been stated, I think there's a million different ways you can crop this image because it is a strong image to begin with. Good job, Lacey.
Oh yeah, great job. Got us really talking.
Yeah.
All right, so let's.
We're jealous, Lacey.
Now this is the last but not least, Thomas Morris. He's been commenting on everybody else's today. Let's see what Thomas has to offer.
So I think this would probably be entered in still life.
Mm-hmm.
The gray bar on the right, I wish it was something besides the gray bar on the right.
I think that's the background.
Yeah, I like the image a lot, but that gray bar on the gray brown bar on the right.
Oh, the gray. This gray. This about this.
That's
thing?
just in the.
That's what's inside
Okay.
the
That's inside of
I
Photoshop.
apologize.
Kurt, that's your mistake for the year. You're good. Now I'm looking at this and I'm wondering if it wouldn't hurt this image to open it up a little bit at the top and open up just a little bit on the right hand side as far as the crop is concerned.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The end of that blade, if it had a little bit more space to breathe.
Exactly. Same at the top with the bowl, I guess it is.
Yeah,
But this is one of those images you can look at and find something different in it every time you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Very well done. Definitely would it'd be advanced to tier 2, I would think.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's go to the next one.
I love it. We have a color infrared.
Yeah.
I would remove the bottom third of that water.
Okay.
Really? I kind of like the reflection.
Playing into the reflection there.
Well, the water needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
The trees need to be cloned in on the upper left corner. That white line doesn't need to be there.
Right.
Or just crop down maybe 3 pixels to get rid of it. Upper left, Stephen.
Oh, upper right? You mean up here?
Nope, upper
here.
left, there's
Up
a
here.
white line where the photograph.
Very, very top.
Very upper left.
This line?
The only person
Oh,
that doesn't see
in
it,
the corner.
Stephen.
In the corner.
Put your cursor right on the corner. Up, right there.
What white line?
The wedge, a white wedge.
Oh, you're talking about the pin line?
That's a good
There's
name
almost
for
a triangle there, Stephen. Right under the word meeting.
That's weird. I'm not seeing it.
But White Wedge is a good name for a rock band.
That's true.
The on the railing, the banister, that actually needs to be toned down. Yeah, right where Stephen's pointing on. It's too bright compared to the rest of the shadow.
Right.
And then the same for the roof.
Yeah, the roof is pretty blown out.
Way blowout.
And keep in mind, and I've seen this in almost every competition that I've been a part of, it's almost half of the judges will not have experience in being able to identify a color infrared.
Right.
Good point.
Somebody's going to go, the pinks don't look right, the blues don't look right, and I just don't understand it. For those of us that get it, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely cool.
Yeah. Cool. Go to the next image.
And if you were to enter that picture, I think it would probably fit in architecture.
I'm
I'm guessing it's
going landscape. The building isn't strong enough to stand on its own, but with the trees, the lake, and the clouds, I'm looking at it more as an overall.
Okay, so if it's landscape, what season would you put it in? Spring, summer, fall, winter, or timeless?
infrared.
If you want to risk it, it's either going to go into winter or timeless.
I say timeless.
in the history of the International Photography Exhibition, didn't we at one time have an infrared category? Way back when, back in the day,
that was probably pre-digital.
Yeah, it was definitely pre-digital. It was back when I was still submitting for.
Well, you're the one who got me involved in this crazy thing about 20 years ago, so it's your fault.
I think we used to have a digital infrared because it was so popular, and because most of the submissions were black and white, but that's changed.
I want to explain my comment about why I would look at putting this into winter. The clouds are number one, but there's a quality of feeling that comes with a lot of infrared that just makes pretty much most every infrared photograph give it a winter cold tone to it.
Yeah, it does. You want to put a jacket on when you're looking at this thing. That's a good point. Would it compete against, say, snow pictures, though? Or I'm just, maybe this would be better in a, well, you're right about the architectural. I think the timeless is going to probably be the better one to put this in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so let's see. Go to the next one.
I got to tell you, about 2 or 3 years ago, if you're not familiar, we don't judge the same categories every year with a few exceptions. One of them would be the composite category, which Stephen Burns is a certified, bona fide expert at. And so he usually does that. Also, the documentary, we have some incredible photojournalists that are retired and live in this area. So other than that, we kind of move around different categories. Well, Lois stuck me in a category for abstract. And I was like, what? Me? I mean, I'm more of a Rembrandt guy than a Picasso guy. But she also put me with somebody who was very strong in that, which was Barbara Fletcher. And Barbara taught me some things about abstract that I never would have considered if it wasn't for having spent some time with her, both in Tier 1 and Tier 2. And so my first initial reaction to this was like, I don't get it. But the more I look at it, the more I really like it. It's an excellent color choice. If we were going to be super, super picky, and I'm not sure I'm ready to do that yet, on the upper right-hand corner, there's a little red, right, yeah, to your right there. I might want to clone that one little red circle out. But I mean, that's just being super picky, and I'm not even sure that's really even necessary. If I were judging that category again, knowing what I've learned and continue to learn about abstracts, I would definitely accept this.
Yeah. And the rules for abstraction are exactly the same. The rules for photography or even for painter, the rules don't change. It's exactly the same. You just have to define your subject, whether abstract or not. Define what it is. And the
great choice.
Yeah.
Great choice of colors.
Yeah.
The fact that all of the dots in this particular one are all around, and we don't have, I say maybe 3 that are not in. There's a repeating pattern feel without it being repeating patterns.
Right.
And I kind of almost want to think that this was done using, there's an English lighting system that we actually have that allows you to balance those lights, and they're absolutely amazing. And this is one of the better examples I've seen done with those kits.
And the three-dimensionality of all the circles, every one of them, there's not a quote-unquote flat circle really in there. They all have a three-dimensional quality to them, like you're almost looking at planets or bubbles or something along those lines.
Yeah, and I love how close like some of them play with value, where it almost feels like it would be flat, and so you look just a little bit off the edge, or just make out that roundness in them. So, especially towards the top half, or some of the larger ones have that really soft gradation to them, yet they still separate.
And I should have mentioned that in addition to Stephen, Tony, aren't you actually also in the composite category in the judging?
Well, I mean, I definitely I have judged not for what we do, but in separate ones I have done judging for that.
So he's someone you want to listen to. and again, Venmo works. $10.
Yeah, I'll get to the 10 this time, John.
Okay.
No, it's going to be more than 10. Very nice.
definitely cool.
Well,
Yeah.
we're done. That's it.
No, I want to see more.
Well, I know. I mean,
We will see you on April 6th or whatever the day is, the 13th, whatever the heck the day is.
Yeah, this is great. Everybody, thank you for submitting. Thomas, wonderful job. Everybody, wonderful job. Lacey, thank you. Joan Everest, thank you. Jennifer Riggins, Fern Rabasa, Diane Arnold, Cindy Deep, or Brittany Benson. Thank you very much for submitting. And
well, it's been fun for us too because we kind of get a preview of what's going to happen on April 13th.
Yeah.
And I did just check it is April 13th.
Yeah,
Okay, not open to the public, judges.
Oh. It's not open to public judges. What about private judges?
Yeah, private judges.
I'll show myself out.
And a huge thank you to Lois, Kurt, Dwayne, John Watts, and Anthony Washington. You guys are wonderful. Really, and I'm honored to have you involved. So,
thank you.
This is fantastic. You're welcome. Now we're going to do a giveaway. So, as I mentioned,
Wait, it's your birthday, but you're giving away the presents.
well, when you learn to give away, and things come back to you. So,
Great gift.
yeah,
Paying it forward. That's it. Yeah.
So this is how we're going to do it. So I have a notepad right here. Everybody see, that's my notepad right there. Okay. I'm going to type a number into it from 1 to 50. From 1 to 50, I'm going to type a number to. I've just done it. And
well, we know it's not your birthday. I mean, your birthday number.
You don't know my birthday number.
Okay, you're right. You're 39. I forgot.
Oh, dang it.
So if everybody type in their number, now this is for the 5-week beginning Photoshop class. All right, so this is to get your skills up in your post processing. Go type in a number into the chat box. Everybody can do that now, and whoever gets close to my number wins.
So I heard that in your 5-week beginning Photoshop class, you spend 9 weeks discussing layers.
Oh my!
We really need a drum and a rim shot and a little cymbal.
That sounds like hell right there. Gosh.
Yeah, that's smart objects for 6 weeks.
Smart object. That would be hell. It's like it's cloning forever and ever and ever and ever. All right, so 1 to 50.
We can spend another 12 weeks just loading drivers.
Oh my gosh.
It still doesn't work, Steven. Oh, 10 more weeks. 10 more weeks.
Poor Steven.
God. And I love it. And I love it when I get complaints from some students going, I did everything you asked me to, and it just doesn't work. And then I always have to respond back, no, you didn't do everything I asked you to. That's why it's not working.
It's not working.
That's
Did
right.
you find out they didn't read instruction number 1 of the introductory email?
So yeah, exactly.
Open Photoshop. Oh.
All right. So there's something else I want to share before I reveal the magic winner here. We have an official Discord for our group, the Photoshop group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the invite link. Go. It's all free. Go here, and you can come in and chat with people, ask questions, interact. Show your work and all that stuff. So on this Discord, you'll see homework submissions from people from various classes. Share your portfolio, special videos that I would create or find that are of interest. Post them here. Image.
You look like you smoked a little too much there in that shot there.
All right, let me see.
Or he was really
Yeah,
tired.
all right, okay.
I mean, I just look at that and I go, he's going, dude.
So
Not that I would know.
No.
No, you wouldn't know that. So I'm putting that link right there in the chat box. And so come on in and join in and be a part of the dialogue. There we go. All right, so I'm ready. Let me go get my notepad.
If I may,
Yes.
On February 15th, I'll be hosting in Orange County an in-person workshop discussing the 12 elements, giving an insight about how judges might think, and then a image review for any of the participants. And to get more information, just check out ppoc.org.
Okay. You want to PPOC? I'm going to type it in. So ppoc.org. I'm going to put it in the chat box. There you go. So everybody's got it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And all right. So I have a winner. And my number, I'm going to drag it on over, is 10, which means the person closest to my number would be Brittany. Right there. Okay. So Brittany, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box. I need you to email me directly all your information, your full name, and your cell number. So I'm going to type in my steve@promolution.com. Congratulations. Class starts next Thursday evening, 7 to 9 in the evening for 5 weeks.
It is virtual, correct?
It's all virtual. That's correct.
Okay.
It's all virtual. Ever since pandemic happened, everything went virtual. I used to do it in person.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody congratulate Brittany. Welcome to the class. Now, if you're interested in joining the class, or I'll put in the link for. I had a link in there actually. It was just there. Let me go back and just copy it real fast. I think it was. There it is. The 5-week Photoshop class. So it is there. All right, here we go. I'm going to paste it in there. So you're interested in signing up, registering for the class? There it is. It starts next Thursday, after work hours, after work traffic, 7 to 9 in the evening. And this is the beginning level Photoshop class. This is then after you're done with that, I will offer the intermediate and also the advanced. So it's a whole regimen of classes to really get your skills up to top-notch level. Okay, so that's it. That's all I can, let me kind of close that out. That's all I can think of. I'm out of here because I've got to run to the bank and then go to my birthday treat.
You got to pay us. That's right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, really.
Oh, no, you guys may be paying me.
You guys. Well done.
All right. Thank you again. Thank you, Lois. You're wonderful. Thank you. I'll be in contact. All right. That's it.
This was amazingly fun.
This was a lot of fun.
Good times.
This is a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream on